guys, welcome to Beyond Politics. This is an in-depth of our perspective on relevant political topics of the day. I'm your host Jared, and with me as always is Seth. So we got a question for you guys. Do you wake up every day and ask yourself, how did we select these two people to run the free world? Well, probably not, because that would be a very depressing way to start off the day. However, if you are in a sticky situation where you don't know who you're going to vote for in less than a week, then we're going to make your life a little bit easier or a little bit harder, depending on which side of the aisle you're on, and give you 5 reasons why you should not support Donald Trump. Don't worry, just because we're pointing out flaws in one candidate doesn't mean that we're supporting another one. And for all you Donald Trump supporters out there, we have a similar video about top 5 reasons why you shouldn't vote for Hillary Clinton that we posted earlier in the week, so be sure and go check that out. All right, guys, moving on to the first reason that you should not support Donald Trump. Seth's going to lay it out for us.
Yep. So for the first reason, we're really going to go for the big one where he really is not a Republican. He's not an adequate representation of the party that he is running for. And Jared, if you want to run through a few reasons why.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when you look at Donald Trump's trade policies, he's to the left of Bernie Sanders. When you look at, he's not for free trade. He's against NAFTA. He talks about punishing U.S. companies for leaving the United States by imposing a tariff on their imports. I believe that the way to, keep U.S. companies based in the United States is to incentivize them to stay by lowering the corporate tax.
It's a subtle difference, but it's important. Like, instead of punishing them, you're rewarding them.
Exactly. Exactly. Yeah, no, yeah. I mean, and that's the difference between conservatism and stuff like that, and then where he stands.
Mm-hmm.
So then you also have Donald Trump advocating for maternity leave. He did a big speech about this. His policy is pretty vague on this, just kind of like his policies on a lot of things. However, paid maternity leave is not something that Republicans or conservatives have typically ever supported.
It's just another government program to not work.
Exactly. It should be more about the individual responsibility of the parent than the collective whole to pay for, the child.
Mm-hmm.
So then also, this is really interesting. Donald Trump has called for an $800 billion to $1 trillion stimulus plan for infrastructure.
Big money.
Yeah, so that's some big money. And it's crazy that people support this, or Republicans and conservatives support this, because back when President Barack Obama introduced his stimulus plan, people were rightfully so completely against it because it did nothing. It didn't stimulate the economy at all. All it did was waste, $900 billion.
Just $800 billion.
Yeah, just $800 billion, no big deal. But if Donald Trump does this $1 trillion stimulus plan, then that will be just as much as President Barack Obama's and Hillary Clinton's proposed, I believe it's $300 billion stimulus plan combined. So this is not a conservative, fiscally conservative idea that he's proposing here. Yeah. I mean, this is big government spending.
Yeah.
Another reason we don't believe that he's, a Republican or support conservative ideology is that he calls for universal single-payer health care. In a 60-minute interview, he was asked what he thought about it, and he just simply said that everyone should be covered. It's not. He said it's a very un-Republican thing for me to say, but everyone's got to be covered. And then he was asked who's going to pay for it by the person interviewing him, and he said the government's going to pay for it. Everybody has to be covered. So these are just reasons that I don't believe that Donald Trump adequately represents the Republican or the conservative party.
Mm-hmm. For sure.
Yeah. So number 2, our next big reason, Donald Trump is inconsistent. There's a lot of examples of this, and Seth's going to run through some of them right now.
Yes. So due to the wonders of technology, we have actual audio and video of him just constantly flip-flopping on policies, on ideas. We have audio of him saying how much he loves Hillary Clinton and what a great Secretary of State she was when she was Secretary of State. This was in the past. She said that Hillary Clinton is probably beyond everybody else and above everybody else. Honestly, they're great people, one of his favorite lines, and I like them both. Terrific people. I don't think it's good to have this candidate that you're like so for, and then you just look back not even that long ago and you can see that he's already not standing up for the same ideas that he had back then.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, you had him saying that he was talking about Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton, and he says that, they're terrific people. He likes them both and all that kind of stuff. And it's,
And now he's calling her like the devil.
Exactly. And this wasn't audio that's that long ago. I mean, this was after the attacks on Benghazi when she was Secretary of State. So this is not like, back in the 90s or anything like that. You can't really discredit this. He said this recently.
Yeah. And then you also have like the hilarious part that Donald Trump couldn't even vote in the Republican primary because he hadn't switched to being Republican soon enough, because he's always traditionally been a Democrat, and he just suddenly this election has become a Republican, yet still didn't do it quick enough.
Yeah. Yeah, he couldn't even vote for Romney in the 2012 primary. Crazy.
Yeah, it's just it doesn't inspire confidence for me. We also can look at his stance of abortion. He was pro-choice in the 90s. Now he's, of course, switched his position to pro-life. He's even gone so far as to say women who have abortions should be punished. Now he said they shouldn't be punished and that the states should decide. I mean, you don't know where he falls on a lot of his issues he talks about, because he's constantly saying something different than he said before, and you don't know which one he would actually act on should he get into office.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's you don't really know where he stands, just like you said.
Yeah.
So moving right along to our third one. This is a really big one for us.
Number 3.
Yeah, I know this is a big issue for a lot of Americans. It definitely is for me and Seth. The Bill of Rights is kind of a cornerstone to what makes, America unique and stuff like that. So we believe that, Donald Trump and his policies and what he said threatens America's First and Second Amendment rights. Seth, why don't you run down why we think that?
Yeah, so just starting with the First Amendment, I mean, you have Donald Trump attacking the press repeatedly, threatening to sue them, wanting to expand libel laws. I mean, taking away something that has been distilled on every citizen of America since the beginning. And I mean, who is he to attack that? And I think it's very important to keep free speech, and it's very important to keep free speech in the media as well as in the private sector. I mean, it's just when you start going after that, it's a little unnerving, because that's probably one of the most important, if not the most important, of the amendments. And he's gunning straight for it. I mean, you can obviously see that the mainstream media is being biased towards Hillary Clinton, but censoring the press and restricting what they can say and being able to more easily sue them if they say something you don't like, it's not an answer.
Definitely.
Yeah. You also have him, of course, the Second Amendment with the no-fly list. In the second debate? Or the first debate, the only thing that him and Hillary agreed on was the no-fly, no-buy, and that if you're on the no-fly list, you shouldn't be allowed to purchase a firearm. Mm-hmm. The no-fly list infringes on many constitutional rights. I mean, you can't say it doesn't. You can be put on it without knowing. It's not innocent until proven guilty. It's guilty until you find out that you've been put on it, and now you have to work to get yourself off of it. It's not based in the way that America has been laid out, and the fact that he can on one hand say that he is for this no fly no buy thing, and then on the later debate say that he's so pro Second Amendment and for the people, and you're like, well, you're restricting their rights to bear arms by this unconstitutional no fly list. And it's just like he's going after things that are foundational to the American people.
Exactly. And there's no trial, there's no jury, no one's convicted. You can just put on these no-fly lists without even knowing it, and then all of a sudden you're restricted from your constitutional right as a United States citizen. And
it's already been proven to be taken advantage of. It's not like where people are just thinking the worst when they're like, well, it could be taken advantage of. No, it's already been taken advantage of. There's been elected officials put on the list as like a joke, or not knowing they were put on the list and then having to do this long process to get off of it. And that's just not how we're set up to run. That's not how America works.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All right. So now on the fourth reason Donald Trump should not be getting your vote is that there is a very real possibility that he could forever taint capitalism and conservatism. And Jared, I think, can go forward and explain why this is very serious and could be a big problem.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, this is a major issue for me on, supporting Donald Trump or not. I've been typically, I'm conservative, and I would consider myself a constitutionalist, and I believe that Donald Trump is a big he's a big businessman. He represents capitalism. He's also running as a Republican, so therefore he's representing conservatism. And I believe that he's not a conservative, and I believe that he's a crony capitalist. And there's a lot of examples of this. I think that you need to go, look up the Trump University, the Trump Foundation, all this kind of stuff. Do your own homework on this. This is what I believe. I think that it all comes down to, if you ask yourself a question, do morals and values matter? I of course think they do. I mean, Republicans nominated a candidate that has openly said that he tries to have sex with married men's wives while he himself is also married. And then, he says things that he likes to grab women by the genitals because he's famous and they let him. And, then since we've had women who have come out, some of them has been disproven. And while they've come out and said that, yes, he has done these things, it hasn't been proven in a court of law at all. He said it, and they're coming out and confirming what he said. I mean, so you can take that for what it's worth. I'm not saying that it's exactly what Bill Clinton did. I'm not at all. I think Bill Clinton was a sexual predator. I think that, I would classify Bill Clinton as a rapist, an alleged rapist, definitely. I'm not saying Donald Trump is on that same path. However, you're seeing conservatives and Republicans now defending Donald Trump for things that they were criticizing Democrats of defending Bill Clinton for back in the 90s. So I think that, both parties need to really look at what they're defending and come back to their morals and their values. And I think that Donald Trump has, due to his recklessness and his lack of principles and his, no moral compass, I think large part of an entire generation has been turned off to conservatism and constitutionalism because they think that Donald Trump is representing those things.
Exactly, and like it, like we can say that we don't think he's Republican, but the fact is he has that label, and the Republicans have put him forward as their candidate. So, like it or not, he is a Republican candidate, and the Republican Party will be judged on Trump, and I think it's already, I think, done a lot of damage. And should he get in and he continues to do bad things and just be a horrible president, which he probably will be, I mean, that's super easy ammo for the Democrats and just really for anyone to look at the Republican Party and say, this isn't really a party that should be in America, because look at what you endorsed Trump, look what he did.
Definitely.
It's very bad.
Yeah, no, I agree. And I don't want to, I think that the Republican Party has been, long time gone from what they were the principles and stuff that they were founded on. I think that the Republican Party created Donald Trump because so many people were fed up with the Republican Party. So I understand exactly how Donald Trump came to be. People are fed up with the system and they want it torn down. However, I don't think that Donald Trump is the way to do it. And, I just don't think it's wise. So,
yeah. Yep. Okay. So on to the last reason. It really comes down to Trump being a big missed opportunity, and a lot of people are fed up with the system. A lot of people are tired of politicians and the way things have been going, and so a lot of people are very much drawn towards Trump because he was so different, because he was so just firing at the hip, not really thinking, just saying what's on his mind. But when it came down to brass tacks, he really ended up being a very poor choice, we think, for a presidency. I mean, the idea of a Donald Trump-style president is great, just not with Donald Trump. I mean, the idea of someone from the outside coming in is awesome. The idea of a non-politician getting a chance to run for president, I think, appeals to a lot of people. But you can't look at that and then ignore all these things that are not so good about him, I mean, it really sucks that we ended up with Trump, and I think the Republican Party and how far we've fallen kind of created him, and there's just this yearning for something different, this desperation. they latched on to the first thing that was just a little bit against what they all hated. But he's kind of turned into this just not pro-American thing. And I don't know, man. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think, like you said, I think people want, Americans as a whole like the idea of Donald Trump. You know, someone who can't be bought out by special interest groups. He doesn't have anyone's agenda but his own. He kind of, you know, tell it like it is mentality. But I think that, you know, like we said, people want to vote for him, but Donald Trump just keeps talking people out of it every time. Not every time, but a lot of times when he opens his mouth and he says these things that either contradict himself or are, you know, just kind of out. I mean, some people would consider it outlandish. I don't think he's personally a racist or a bigot. I think he gets a bad rap on that. However, he's, you know, just when he contradicts himself, when he says these things about women, you know, just it's
horrible things.
Yeah, I mean, it's not good. It's a huge missed opportunity. It's unappealing to such a huge group of people, especially people in my generation. In your generation, and that's kind of the future of the country. And I think that is why that this is such a missed opportunity, especially when he's running against somebody like Hillary Clinton, who is one of the, you know, anyone could beat her at this point with everything that's come out about her. So I mean,
and he comes off as like a child and immature, and it's not like, do we really want that being the person that comes to other countries and is a representation of us? You know,
arguably the most powerful, you know, position in the world.
Person in the world. Yeah. So it's just it's definitely a reason to not support him, because while the guy that's not of the system is great, you can't let that taint the
cloud your judgment for who he really is as a person.
Exactly.
Yeah, definitely. All right, guys. Well, as always, this has been Beyond Politics. If you agree with what we said, if you disagree, either way, if you thought the video sucked, if you thought it was great, let us know. Like the video, subscribe to the channel. Be sure and check us out every Monday when we upload the Peanut Gallery podcast. Check us out on Facebook at Beyond Borders. Be sure and leave your opinion, guys. Remember, this is beyond just politics, so tell us who you're planning on voting for and why. We'll see you guys next time.